Shareholders need to have confidence in a company's financial performance and reputation. Where Boohoo currently stands, it is an unreliable stock. Boohoo has been involved in various bad publicity over the last 3 years, the impact of which can be clearly identified by the plummets in share price on the stock market graphs. For a company that relies heavily upon their social media presence to gain new customers, not stepping up to meet ESG expectations poses a huge risk on the company and share price. We will be exploring the factors that contribute to Boohoo's poor ESG and potential solutions to help them maintain a steady share price.
The Environmental Audit Committee lists Boohoo as one of the least sustainable fashion brands in the UK. While stocks are going up, campaigners like Greta Thunberg and Extinction Rebellion are gaining popularity. Boohoo are already listed on boycott sites. Throwaway fashion. The cheaper the item, the more likely it is to be thrown away. Ethical clothing can be expensive. Boohoo has a reasonably priced recycled line, but the For the Future page is not easy to find. About 300,000 tonnes of textiles are thrown away per year. Make this unfashionable and encourage recycling and upcycling, not because you have to, but because you want to. Greenwashing. PR stunts to make the company look more environmentally sustainable. For example, Boohoo reportedly banned all wool products only to reverse the decision and use fake fur which contains plastic. People will stop trusting them and could boycott their products. 50 years after their baby milk crisis, people still avoid Nestlé. At the Environmental Audit Committee in December 2020, Andrew Reaney made commitments to join different initiatives. Caroline Lucas MP suggested that Boohoo could potentially buck the trend on throwaway fashion. Boohoo can use ethical suppliers, minimise carbon emissions and encourage other companies to do the same.
In July 2020, headlines everywhere exposed that Boohoo's employees were being paid £3.50 an hour. The Levitt audit describes this as a historic problem within the business, with evidence that Boohoo knew of this back in December 2019. This sparked allegations of modern slavery, fueled by extra evidence that a large amount of employees work excessive hours without proper contracts and are not entitled to paid holidays or sick pay. In its latest statement, Boohoo boasts a new working relationship with the Slave Free Alliance and GLAA. However, further research indicates that Boohoo has been a part of the Anti-Slavery Alliance and Hope for Justice since 2018, meaning it should have already had anti-slavery policies in place. As far as customers and investors are concerned, this new alliance is just as meaningless as it was in 2018. How can Boohoo redeem itself going forward? A starting point is to admit responsibility, as up to this point all allegations have been met with a cold front and denied. Boohoo should give all employees at least a fair working wage and proof of working hours, making sure that they are legally and responsibly sourced. Levitt suggests an independent assessment of changes made in 3 months' time. Not making these changes will damage the company's reputation and increase boycotts of its products. This makes Boohoo unattractive to investors. Boohoo's social ESG rating needs to improve in order to gain positive control over stock prices.
Boohoo's management is severely underperforming in many ways, but particularly through its lack of transparency and weak corporate governance. In the 2020 Fashion Transparency Index, the overall average for retail brands was only 23%, yet Boohoo still scored a measly 9% for overall transparency and only 8% for its governance approach. Boohoo's risk management systems and overall monitoring of its Leicester supply chain were also deemed significantly underdeveloped in a recent 2020 review. The review concluded that Boohoo's management was so hyper-focused on using lockdown to boost commercial growth that its governance processes failed to fulfil Boohoo's duty of care to its workforce. Furthermore, Boohoo's governance controls were also found to fall behind industry good practice in many areas. So what is a possible solution? Boohoo should consider replacing subcontracted suppliers with direct contractual relationships. Boohoo has around 500 companies in its supply chain in Leicester alone, so to effectively monitor the conditions in such a large number of companies would be unrealistic and unprofitable. But by reducing the overall number of companies that Boohoo contracts with, and by focusing on the larger companies, they can maintain manufacturing capacity whilst putting their resources into compliance more proportionately. Whilst Boohoo can acquire other companies to boost financials, this is inorganic growth, and it is ultimately the company's reputation that will ensure future long-term success with their share price.